Jackie Kent is journalist and she's also the author of a new biography called The Making of Julia Gillard. Jackie, welcome to RM Breakfast.
Thanks, Fran.
Jackie, did you get to the woman behind the mask, to the essence of Julia Gillard, do you think?
You often wonder about that. When you're writing biography, you rather think that that's what you're going to do. I think I got as far as anyone who doesn't know her intimately probably did, but that is because she has a really good persona. I think she's actually very well defended and rather reserved. But what you see, and the person you've spoken to and lots of other people have spoken to, that's the person I saw. She's got a really good way of interacting with the world, really.
Oh, no doubt about that. I noticed through the book you describe her pragmatism. Just last week, Mark Latham described her as the great chameleon of Australian politics. Are they the same things, pragmatist and chameleon?
I think chameleon's a bit unfair, actually. I don't think she's a chameleon at all. I think pragmatist, yes. And I suppose if you are a pragmatist, it means what you do is you work through the networks you have, which she does. She's always worked through networks of influence rather than factional blocks. And I think, really, if that makes her not someone who is standing up there in the one position all the time, I guess it makes her a chameleon, but, politics.
Well, there remains disagreement, I suppose, at large in the political arena anyway, about where she sits. I mean, she's a member of the Labor left faction. The coalition's tried to paint her as Red Julia, very much in the last election campaign, a risky lefty. Yet all her life, starting with the student political arena and within Labor, she's regarded as a pretty moderate, if not downright conservative member of the left faction.
That's absolutely right, yes, and that's one of the things.
What did you find?
Well, I found her, she's pretty conservative. There's been a bit of talk about people being the Labor Party being tribal Labor and non-tribal Labor. She is tribal Labor, but she's not come up through the blokey factional way of doing things, and therefore she has not had sort of blocks of people fighting with her. So she's had to make different kinds of alliances. I think that's partly because those factional things always work for the blokes, they always have. And I think that she had to work a little differently. And I think she does get a bit of stick because she is not the kind of monolithic Labor person working from a faction.
She did get pretty solid factional support, though, in her rise initially through the Labor ranks, didn't she? Into the front bench.
At first, not at first. Oh, she had a pretty tough time getting there. But and there were quite a few factional bosses who didn't really want her there at all. She had a tough go to get into Parliament. But yes, once she got there, and particularly, well, when she and Rudd joined forces, of course, that was a different thing. Yeah.
As you say, she's got this very personable presence, and we saw that just a couple of weeks ago. Anyone who watched her on television on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Very personable, but in the Parliament, very, very tough. That toughness, where does that come from? Does that come from her sort of the cauldron of student politics that she grew up in?
I think it comes from a lot of different things. I have to say that I think she is possibly one of the most confident in herself people I've ever met. She's got a really solid core of self, and I think that comes from the family background. But she's also smart. She is also smarter than the average fifth grader. She's
smart.
She's very smart, yes, and and she can think very quickly on her feet. And she's also got the ability to go for the vital ground. She's really got most of the things you need.
She was criticised some time ago from within, from some of her colleagues, by being a bit of a sort of a media darling, if you like. She seemed to be everywhere for a while, and she's having a bit of a moment of it now, in fact.
Yeah.
And this biography is one part of that.
Well, it isn't.
Does she court the media? What did you find when you were dealing with her? Was she into this idea of a biography?
No, not at all. In fact, she's been very forbearing about the whole thing. It took me a while to get to. I did speak to her, and I spoke to her more than once, but it took her a long time to get used to the idea. And I think she was rather diffident. She said she felt a bit like a lab rat when she was being interviewed with the whole idea. So no, it's a subset of the media that she is not familiar with. So I think she wasn't particularly. She's a bit cautious about it.
It's 18 past 8 on Breakfast. Our guest this morning is journalist Jackie Kent, who's written a new biography of Julia Gillard being launched tomorrow, The Making of Julia Gillard. Did you spend much time with her? for the making of this book?
Yes, she was. I had 3 interviews with her and a couple of phone conversations. The characteristics of her, that really she is friendly without offering friendship. She's kind of got detached friendliness down to a fine art. I think it's a necessary protective thing in politics. And she gives you exactly the amount of time that she says she will, and she doesn't look at her watch or fiddle with her BlackBerry or do anything like that. She's very present and very concentrated.
As you did this research, I think you've been working on this for a year or so. Presumably you talked to people all around Julia Gillard's life, her friends and her enemies. Is there one thing you unearthed that surprised you?
Yes, one thing that did surprise me is the extent to which she does not bear grudges. I mean, you know, the Labor Party's life, you've got people in there who sort of carry grudges with a half-life of plutonium sometimes, but she doesn't bother with any of that. She's a bit like Rudd in that respect. She doesn't see the point of hanging on to grudges. That was then, this is now. And she seems to be able to let go of grudges very, very easily, actually. I think it's quite impressive, actually.
And it's clear through reading your book as you read through it that she has a great capacity to, as you say, form alliances. I mean, she worked very closely with Mark Latham and famously was one of the people who wasn't bagged out in the Latham diaries. She was very close to leader Simon Crean. She's obviously clearly working very closely with Kevin Rudd. These people at various points might not have always been favourite fans of each other.
No, I know. It's quite interesting, isn't it?
Julia Gillard manages to roam across from one to the other.
Yeah, I think it's because she's entirely consistent with everybody. She doesn't play favourite. She's got that sort of persona of being she's friendly, she's efficient, she's capable, she works very hard. And I think they're qualities that people appreciate.
The big thing to unearth here, I suppose, apart from what drives Julia Gillard, what made Julia Gillard, is the big question: does she want to be Prime Minister? Did you discover the answer to that?
Oh, it's a very interesting question. That she, of course, says she doesn't, and
she says no, I don't want to be.
She says it's not a question that is appropriate at this time. She doesn't actually say no, I don't want to be. She said obviously that she's thought about it, and obviously it's come up for consideration. But what she says, and I think she's right, I agree with her on this, that there are a whole lot of other factors that will come into play before that becomes possible.
But what did you think after sitting with her for all those hours and talking to people around her?
I think that she is focused on what she's doing now. If it happens, she will do it. But I don't think she will. She's not a Keating. She won't go to the backbench and destabilise the party for the sake of her own ambition. That's what I think. And that's what the evidence suggests.
And to use a well-worn journalistic cliche, only time will tell, I guess.
Only time will tell, Fran.
Jackie,
Yes.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Fran.
That's Jacqueline Kent. And The Making of Julia Gillard is a new biography on the Deputy Prime Minister, published by Penguin, launched tomorrow.